and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
Oh, what a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Well, the Eagles' undefeated season is over in probably the most unexpected way possible. But isn't that the theme of this year? The unexpected is what happens with the Philadelphia Eagles. I am Josh Hennig, hanging out with you here on Game Night, here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. We will be joined coming up by Chris Franklin from NJ Advanced Media. We'll talk with him about his thoughts on the aftermath of the loss, because there's a lot we got to get into, not just the loss, but what happened in the loss, because the Eagles lost some players in the last 36 hours, and last night may have been an example of what needs to change about this team moving forward. So we'll get into all that with Chris Franklin as well. Always, you could join the conversation. 609-403-0973 is the text board. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Let's dive into this, because I asked this question to Mike Gill earlier in the day, and I'll throw it out here now again. And that is, to me, there were three moments last night that felt like completely turned the game on its head. All right. The first moment was the Dallas Goedert no face mask called fumble. And now we know that Goddard is going to miss an extended period of time with a shoulder injury, probably as a direct result of that face mask yank. So that's the first moment of the game that when I really felt like we're not going to win this game. The second part of the conversation is the Brandon Graham roughing the passer situation. All right. And I call it a situation because it's been heavily debated by people who have played the game in the last, what is it now, barely 24 hours, what exactly happened there. We have people whose literal jobs used to be playing in the NFL and tackling people, and they can't agree on the Brandon Graham if it should or should not have been a call. So that's the second thing. All right. The third thing that happened last night was the Quez Watkins fumble. Because to me, that was the final straw. As soon as he fumbled that ball, I felt like the air was out of the building as well. The first half felt a lot like the Houston game to me. In the first half, I'm watching the game and I'm thinking, this is the Houston-Detroit games all over again. Missed tackles, guys running the opposite direction of the ball carrier, guys not looking like they're ready and prepared to handle what's in front of them. And I wish I had a better explanation for why this keeps happening. I know that some people have said that, the Eagles haven't played a regular 1 o'clock slate of Sunday games in a while, so that has an impact on them. I don't know what the issue is, okay? But for whatever reason, multiple times now, this team does not look like they're ready for the start of a game. And I don't know the reason why, but whatever the reason is, if you take away the fraudulent final touchdown of the game by former Eagles draft pick Casey Toohill on a fumble recovery on a completely botched and failed, backyard play, basically. They were trying to get the ball down the field with the last seconds of the game. You take out that touchdown, 6 points were scored by Washington in the second half last night. So 6 points in the second half, 20 points in the first. Does that not sound familiar to you? Because the Houston game was very similar. In the Houston game, Houston scored 14 points in the first half, 3 in the second. So there's a pattern here. The pattern is that in the first half, you can get points and yards on the Eagles. In the second half, they have a better chance of winning the game. But last night, they didn't do it. Because one, the turnovers. The fumbles killed you. I don't hate the interception thrown. I mean, there's a million times this year Hurts has thrown in double coverage to A.J. Brown. He's caught that ball. But the fumbles were what killed you, number one. And number two, I don't know what they were trying to do last night, but it felt like they were overthinking the room. There were multiple drives last night where the Eagles just couldn't get any momentum at all. You look at the second half, they went 3 and out, then they score a touchdown. Okay, so you're like, all right, making some progress. Then they had the 6-play run, and Goddard fumbles the ball. The next 3 drives, 3 and out, 3 and out. And the first 3 and out is what bothered me the most, because you thought that they were going to be able to maybe convert, okay? You got a 3rd and 3. And that pass to A.J. Brown, I don't know what they were trying to do in that play, but it completely looked just haphazard. Now, they recorrected course. But then after the field goal by Washington to put them up 26-21, not insurmountable at all, what happens? The Quez Watkins fumble. And it just feels like this team, I don't know if they were smelling themselves. I don't know if they took things for granted, but it just feels like this team is a much better football team than they showed last night. And I'm going to chalk it up personally to a bad night. But if I'm going to be completely objective with you guys, I'm concerned because, one, if Dallas Goedert misses the next few weeks, that's a problem. You're already without Avonte Maddox. We don't know yet the status of A.J. Brown. I'm going to go under the assumption we'll learn more tomorrow and Thursday about A.J. Brown and his status for Sunday. But I know for a fact that this team struggled to stop the run by basically being out of position, missing tackles, not doing their job in the first half. And overall, the offense did not have a good night. It wasn't Jalen Hurts' fault. You know, the quarterback gets the loss in that win-loss column, but last night wasn't Jalen Hurts' loss. That was a team loss. There were failures by the receivers, failures by the coaching staff, failures by the offensive line, failures by the defense, but Jalen's going to get the blame. And honestly, that stinks. Because he didn't lose that game last night. It's not his fault that Quez Watkins fumbled that ball, or Goddard got a face mask and nobody called, or Brandon Graham accidentally ran into Hennig and they threw a flag. Text board is open. 609-403-0973 is the text board, and your DMs for the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Game that being brought to you by Jenkins and Sons. One call does it all. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Jenkins technicians are trained to do it all. Renew heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing and drain cleaning services. Call 609-641-6262 and visit them online at jenkinsandsons.com. Jeff in Ocean City chimes in on the text board, says, Josh, is it odd that I sit here and I'm terrified of the Colts and not worried about the Packers? That's Jeff in Ocean City. I think it's odd because we have been, for lack of a better term, programmed, predisposed. I don't know what you want to call it, but we have been basically, learned over the years that Aaron Rodgers is a dangerous man. And I think that you saw in the Dallas game, you're hoping it doesn't happen to you in a couple of weeks, that Rodgers finds his rhythm, finds his guys, and takes advantage of the situation. I don't know if I'd say you should be terrified, though, of the Colts, because you could argue the Colts got a big win against a team that's a dumpster fire in the Raiders. If the Eagles play fundamental football, don't fumble the ball, don't have such a huge lapse in the first half and getting themselves behind. I mean, that was the first time all season the Eagles have been losing at halftime. That in and of itself is an incredible statement. So I'm assuming that if the Colts play a better football team, they're going to have some more problems. And by the way, the Colts had to come from behind and win that game. Matt Ryan leads the NFL, Jeff, in Ocean City in fourth quarter comebacks. So it tells you the Colts are just not a good football team. They get down a lot, and they just announced today that Shaq Leonard is out for the rest of the year. He's having season-ending surgery. So I don't think that you should be terrified of losing to the Colts, Jeff, in Ocean City. What I think you should do is say, look, the Colts worry me if the Eagles don't make the necessary adjustments and if the players themselves don't grow up. Because I'm sorry, you're an NFL player. Why are you getting hoodwinked and manipulated and run by guys on screens? I'm watching guys go on screens from left to right. Half the team starts running with that guy going on the screen. And what does Washington do? They run left. And it's the same thing that happened in the Detroit game. It's the same thing that happened in the first half of the Houston game. So for all I know, Gannon could have made the perfect play call, but you got Kazir White and you got half this defense, even guys on the D line like Fletcher Cox and Marlon Tuipulotu start shifting left. And what happens? They run the other way. Anthony in Atlantic City says, I don't mind the loss at all. A lot of unfortunate errors. All the running equaled out a whopping 3 yards to carry on 50 attempts. It's not great in my eyes. They call the face mask. It might be a different story. Quez Watkins, no fumble, different game. Just my thoughts. Anthony, it's a great point. It's not the end of the world because the Eagles multiple times could have won that game, but 2 fumbles is what really killed you. You could argue that in the first half, the defense killed you. In the second half, the offense killed you. And guess what? Very few games have the Eagles played a full game this year. You could argue if they play a full game, maybe they actually have a better shot to not just win that game, but run away with that game. Joey D. Inventor chimes in at 609-403-0973. Says, you can't make that call that decided the game. Hennig was scrambling, and there's no way you could stop dead on and throw a knee last second and expect the pass rusher to stop. Joey D, that's the argument a lot of people have been having over the last 24 hours. To me, I'm conflicted because on one hand, I've seen plenty of players, make jumps or dives or rolls around guys to not hit people. So I've seen it done. I've seen guys see somebody go for a slide or go for a knee, and they have the oh no moment, and they jump over the guy, or they jump sideways, or they roll past him, or whatever. So I know that I've seen people do it. It doesn't mean that in that moment Brandon Graham was capable of doing it, though. And I think that's what the flag was. The flag was the official saying, I am establishing in this moment in time that this player could have avoided contact. But that's the letter of the law. The spirit of the law is what you are saying, and what I've seen other players say, like Dominique Foxworth on Get Up this morning. What I saw them say on NFL Network last night with Michael Robinson. It's the idea that is not an egregious roughing the passer. That is not an egregious contact. And in that moment, you're deciding the game with that flag. So I totally get where you're coming from, Joey D, but I also see the other side of the point. Andrew from Summers Point chimes in and says, man, I was wrong. I thought the Eagles would win by double digits. Andrew, you, me, and everybody else was wrong, okay? This is not your cross to bear, man. We all were wrong. To me, I thought all along that there were other games the Eagles could lose. This was not the game. So it has to make you wonder what happens next with all the injuries, with all the questions. We will ask it to Chris Franklin from NJ Advanced Media coming up next. He covers the Eagles for NJ.com. He will join us to get deeper into what is next for the Eagles on a short week. Josh Hennig here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles continue the 2022 season this Sunday in Indy against the Colts.
The Eagles have it, so they get it right back. The hit by Josh Sweat.
This defense can set the tone.
Pre-game coverage starts at noon with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick calling all the action starting at 1 p.m. This is where the Philadelphia Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's official Eagles station.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's Incredible Crab Specials Wednesdays this fall. 2 pounds of snow crab legs for $49.99 or 2 pounds of snow crab legs and 4 hard shells for $79.99. Thursdays is Chicky and Pete's Go Birds Wing Special. Whatever the Eagles score on Sunday, get that percentage off your wings on Thursday. Higher score, bigger discount. Plus our fall specialty menu with the mouth-watering garlic truffle burger and B-Dog Impact Nachos. Enjoy a pumpkin shandy or a smoked apple cider margarita. Chickies and Pete's. Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. And we know Saturdays in the fall are special. Why? College football. And we have you covered with food and drink specials and the best in-game experience to watch your team or the college football game of the week. Come watch Penn State, Temple, Villanova, Notre Dame, Texas, Michigan, Georgia, and more. College football Saturdays are special at Chickies and Pete's.
At Progressive, you can get 24/7 protection, even if you break the space-time continuum.
We did it. We time traveled to yesterday.
Wait, Progressive covers us 24/7, but we just created an 8-day week, and it's 24/7 coverage, not 24/8. We gotta go back.
Are you joking right now?
Shh, I'm calling them. Hi, I have a question about time travel.
Progressive offers more than a great price when you bundle home and auto. We offer round-the-clock protection, which literally means anytime. Coverage from Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers, and subject to policy terms. Bundle discount not available in all states or situations.
Did you know Kohl's has early holiday deals on the top toys? It was a game changer for me. I got Kohl's Cash and all my kids' favorites, like Marvel must-haves starting at $11.99, Squishmallows for $25 and under, a Fisher-Price Dreamhouse for $49.99, and found so much more. Plus, you can take an extra 20% off or save even more with the Kohl's card. More gifts, more savings, more reasons to get to Kohl's. Select styles, 20% offer ends November 19th. Toys, coupons do not apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Okay, smile naturally. Perfect.
Cam's Photography knows wedding season ramps up in a flash. They need to say I do to a studio assistant before clients go full bridezilla.
I'm so sorry. I have to get a different lens. I'll be right back.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
With Black Friday savings at the Home Depot, you can get top brand laundry sets with the latest tech to tackle any mess you might face this holiday, like automatic fabric and load size detection for spills of any size, from cookies and milk on your favorite holiday sweater to the toddler of the house discovering just how fun cranberry sauce can be. Make more magic this holiday season. Let your new appliances handle the mess. Shop Black Friday savings and get up to 30% off, plus instantly save up to $750 on select LG laundry sets at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Offer valid November 2nd through 30th. U.S. only. See store or online for details.
When you can't stop, there's Vicks VapoRub. Vicks VapoRub sends powerful medicated Vicks vapors right to the source of your... so you can experience cough relief and breathe easier. Generations of families have trusted Vicks VapoRub to help relieve the worst cold symptoms. So next time you have a cough, reach for the Vicks VapoRub. Vicks VapoRub. Cough relieving is believing.
East Coast Roofing and Siding, protecting what you love and own.
Hi, this is Gerald with East Coast Roofing, Siding, and Windows. In an effort to set the standard for the corporate citizenship model, we are excited to announce our 14th annual roof giveaway. From now until November 30th, you can nominate a deserving family in need to receive a free roof just in time for the holidays. We encourage you to visit eastcoastroofing.com/roof giveaway.
Hey, Gerald, wait. Don't forget, when you hire us for your exterior renovation through the end of November, you're going to have 2 years to pay for that project. We know the importance of paying it forward with our annual roof giveaway, but we also do it by providing the best payment options here in New Jersey. So call 609-262-2004 or visit eastcoastroofing.com today.
East Coast Roofing and Siding, Trust us with your family and home.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
We'll check back in on the text board at 609-403-0973 in just a bit. Also, your DMs in the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. But right now, we have questions, and we hope Chris Franklin from NJ.com has answers, because last night was the first loss for the Eagles, well, regular season, meaningful game in a long time. Because really in nobody's right mind do they think that the loss of the Dolphins in the preseason counted for anything. But last night, Chris, there was a lot of issues people walked out of that game with. So let's dive into it. How are you doing today, the day after the Eagles' first loss of the season?
Not bad. It's the only way I can basically sum up everything is like it's going back to the Chappelle show with Dylon, the way he's looking around and looking confused. I feel like Dylon after everything afterwards, like what's going on here?
Yeah. So let me ask you it this way. Last night, what was more concerning coming out of that game moving forward? Was it the fact that this is multiple times in the first half the defense has gotten gashed, or in the second half that the offense looked completely out of rhythm?
I thought it was more about the defense getting gashed because they could not find a way for their lives to get off the field. I mean, there was at one point they were converting about 80% of their third downs and sitting there looking like nobody was able to make a stop, and they kept the drives going. And listen, I know blueprint's a word that's been used a lot around today, but that's the way as right now until either Jordan Davis comes back or Jonathan Gannon finds a way to make a fix. The way to beat the Eagles is pound them inside to make it second and about 6-5, and then you have your whole entire playbook ready to go from there. They got to make some quick changes very, very fast.
Because this is where I'm conflicted, Chris, because you mentioned Gannon, you mentioned Jordan Davis, but this is multiple games now. I'm seeing guys missing tackles. Multiple games, I'm seeing a guy goes in motion from left to right on the TV screen, and guess what? Half the team runs that direction, and they run the opposite way. I mean, that DeAndre Swift touchdown in the first week of the season still haunts me at this point. So it's like, how much of it is Gannon? How much of it is the players here?
Well, I think part of it, their eye discipline, I think, is one thing that they definitely could work on, because when it comes to the edge, especially you mentioned like those jet sweeps and these edges, a lot of defensive ends come crashing hard, almost like it's Jim Schwartz with that wide nine saying, hey, just go to the quarterback. Everything else, they crush really hard and leaves them open for that. But also, you look at the way this team was constructed. They don't have the biggest linebacking core size-wise when you look at it. And then you have a bunch of defensive backs. And when you're getting your defensive tackles aren't able, especially the nose tackles, say Marlon Tuipulotu, who's now a Jordan Davis, who can take two offensive linemen with them, you start to expose your linebackers a little bit more and taking on some of those blocks one-on-one with offensive linemen who are much bigger than them. And then next thing you know, the lines push back and you're getting 3-4 yards before the ball carrier's touched. And I think it's a little bit of both. They need to get better interior play on the defensive line and find ways, and they need to bring more discipline, especially that backside defensive end.
Is part of the solution maybe to stop playing with a nose tackle? Because no offense to Marlon Tuipulotu, but he got manhandled a few times last night. Is that maybe part of what Gannon needs to do moving forward and saying, listen, I don't have Jordan Davis. I need to scrap this whole nose tackle thing?
Yeah, I think at least for a couple weeks. I don't know if you have to go more 4-4 looks where you at least, I don't know if you bring in a guy like Sean Bradley, you just roll up a safety and play in the box and say, hey, you know what, beat us on the edges. I think that's one thing I would definitely consider going against the Colts as well too, because you gotta have to stop Jonathan Taylor, because he's going to. If you thought it was bad with Gibson and Robinson Jr., wait till Jonathan Gannon goes against that type of look. But for the time being, I probably would put that on the shelf, and then when you get Davis back, then you can start to use that way, because at this point, I think you may have to go 8 in the box and just say, all right, beat us on the outside, and really put the onus on those cornerbacks who you have a lot of trust in.
Is maybe putting 8 in the box in part also bringing the Kobe Dean onto the field more and saying, because I don't have that third corner, maybe Dean can function as like a fill in the gap zone guy in that situation?
I think it's possible. I think he's got. When he basically talking to some people around, I think he's absorbed the playbook now. So now it's a matter of trying to find spots, and that might be the solution to do that. Because right now you're not taking T.J. Edwards off because I know the defense didn't play well yesterday, but when you look at the way that T.J. Edwards, we look at the way Kaiser White's been playing as that off the ball linebacker, they've been doing well. We know that they use Reddick on the line as the pass rusher, so that's one way to do it. The only thing that becomes, and this is almost like the chess match they're going to play is now, okay, you got Nakobe Dean out there, you're going to have to put him in space, and physically he can do that. I think he do, but when you start to play some of those games that they play on the inside, you're opening yourself up and you're hoping that he has the wherewithal to stop those, and then basically you might have to have him line up against tight ends as well too. So that's the risk you're playing. But at this point now, the way with everything not working as well as it is, you might as well try it.
Chris Franklin from NJ.com joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Follow him on Twitter at C Franklin News for all your Eagles coverage. Also over at NJ.com. Chris, let's get to the offense. You know, there's a lot of people who are sitting here today saying if Quez Watkins doesn't fumble that ball, and I got to admit, you know, for all the flaws last night, there literally could be one moment in the game where you say, you know, if Quez Watkins just secures that ball, you might have at least got a field goal out of that situation, maybe a touchdown. You know, it's not like anyone was stopping the Eagles but themselves offensively last night.
Yeah, it was. They were when this offense is going away. We've seen what happens when it does that, and the one thing that they prided themselves on was ball security. And it's kind of funny. On the same week that they had the fumbles and everything, we noticed before at the beginning of the week they placed those new posters up there about ball security inside the auditorium. They said they had them in their meeting rooms already. They put in the auditorium, and in the week they put them in the auditorium, they get you fumbles and very costly ones at that. I mean, I look at the Quez Watkins thing, and he admitted he has to secure the ball better as well, so he has to do that. My beef with the offense overall was just what happened with the lack of usage of Miles Sanders early. I think before that one drive where the Eagles really started going in the second half, he only had 2 carries at that point, and that's you want to get one of your better offensive players. You want to get him more involved. And I look at the way the usage that Miles Sanders was used, and they could have done it more. And they should have fed him early, because if not, even if it was they were getting 3 yards with Sanders, which he was running for a lot better than, at least gave that defense enough time to rest because they've been on the field so long, and it would have turned the time of possession battle with a little bit better in their favor. So it wasn't a clean game by all things, whether it was play calling, whether it was execution from the players as well too. But that was one thing I'm sitting there looking like, why are they not using them a lot more?
For most of the year, we've talked about Jalen Hurts as like an MVP candidate, how much he's progressed. But we also talked about Jalen Hurts in the terms of his supporting cast, that they made these major upgrades to the offensive personnel around him. And it felt like last night, Chris, Jalen Hurts' teammates let him down.
I think there's a little bit. It's a little bit of both on both ways as well too. I thought there were some areas with throws. I know that ball he threw deep to AJ Brown hit AJ Brown in the hands, but I still don't know if that gets thrown in double coverage like that. Take your shots, you take your shots. But I probably would have thrown in double coverage like that. I thought he played a pretty solid game overall, and he did a little bit. I mean, Kendrick Gainwell dropped that football when they were trying to go on that 2-minute drive, and then that cost them, and double clutched another one again. And you look overall at the way these guys were rolling, they were bound to have a clunker. I didn't think it would stink as much as they did yesterday, but it was bound to happen. And the thing I really want to see is how well they bounce back this following week, because if it starts to become a pattern where you're looking at that, then you start to question some of these guys overall. But I don't think his hits, he took a hit for his MVP chase last night. I think everybody saw what happened around that overall. And given with even I think with the performance of Josh Allen this past Sunday, I think Allen stepped back a couple of things, because it's tough to give an MVP to somebody whose team right now, if they finish it third, I doubt they do, but say they finish, the Bills finish in third, it's tough to give an MVP to somebody like that. But I think Hurts is still in a good position to win.
Do you buy into the idea that if you're going to have an ugly game, have it on November 15th and not later in the year. Like get the ugly games out of the way now so you're ready for the postseason. Do you buy into that theory?
Personally, I don't. I think it's one of those things where you want to remain sharp the whole entire season. And I know it's tough to do, especially you go in game out, and the later you go, everybody's going to give you their best performance because they know they're trying to knock you off the ranks unbeaten. Now, when you ask a lot of these players going around that locker room, I was like, they were not happy they lost, but in a way, there's a sense of relief because they know they don't have to deal with us asking, so what's it like to be undefeated? To them, they're like, okay, that's off our backs. Let's move forward. So I think for the players, I think they are. I personally, I didn't think this team would be 8-1 at this point right now, but for them to go through that and having to answer that way, I think they're all happy. But I still look at it like, hey, you know what? It goes to that whole saying. You know, how many times we hear saying we're 1-0. We were trying to be 1-0 each week. Well, if you're 1-0 each week, you're going to be perfect. So I don't buy into it personally, but you can tell that these players definitely had a sense of relief that the whole thing was over with the undefeated talk.
The news came out today that after getting his head yanked halfway across his body, Dallas Goedert is going to miss an extended period of time. I think this is probably even bigger news than Jordan Davis being out, because I think Goedert is the unspoken secret weapon of the Eagles offense, because, you know, he is part of the reason why you can't just double everybody across the board, why you have to be honest as a defense. And now without him, sorry, Jack Stoll, but you're not Dallas Goedert, man.
Hey, Stoll's mullet game is strong. I'll give him that. But when you look at the overall, like, his ability to play, I will say this: he's gotten a little bit better. When you look at his night and day from last year as a receiver, although he won't strike fear to anybody else, at least you had to respect him. But now, personally, what I would do if they're still going to use transfer, I just use Grant Calcaterra and basically elevate him to run a lot of those passing routes, because I think he's a much more polished route runner, and I think he's a more reliable receiver. And he wasn't getting looks in an offense. I mean, he only has the one catch he had for 40 yards in his first game playing here, but you also had all those other weapons. You also had Smith, he had Stoll, surprisingly, and you had Goddard on the field when you're trying to get those targets. So I think Calcaterra assumes is going to take over running those routes when they go two tight ends. And the one guy I'm really, really looking at seeing, because it's 21-day practice window was almost done, Tyree Jackson. And I think this, if he solves his block, the whole issue of being a reliable blocker, using him around the red zone, I think that just adds a whole other dimension. Even when Goddard eventually does come back, having him play in the red zone, trying to find somebody to match up against a 6'7", 245, 249 pound tight end, that's tough to do. So I want to see where he is when it comes in shape. I want to see where he is when it comes to his blocking. But if he can get those things down, I think the Eagles can be in decent shape and at least hold the fort until Goddard comes back.
Eagle fans are also curious about A.J. Brown. I mean, he has that play. He steps awkwardly out of bounds, gets retaped, changes the cleats altogether, goes back out there. You know, what do we take away from A.J. Brown? Like, should we assume he's going to be all right? Is it a wait and see? You know, what is your perspective on A.J. Brown?
I'm waiting and seeing personally. I think a lot of things as well too. He looked like he still held his own when he was running down the field. It doesn't seem like the same A.J. Brown we were used to seeing, and some of his cuts and quickness look a little slower than what we've seen beforehand. I want to see how he comes out for a couple of days after this treatment, and I want to see that not so much the Wednesday practice, but I want to see a Thursday practice report, and if he's limited or what have you, that lay in there. If he say hey, he doesn't participate at all, then by Thursday, then that, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a rest day on Wednesday, but it's just something really forward to watch too, because we see what happens when he's going and teams have to shade another guy over toward his side. That opens up so much space. Now not only would you not have Goddard, now you have Brown, Nika Brown. It's going to look like 2021 all over again, where teams just going to say, hey, Devonta Smith, okay, we'll double you and somebody else beat us. And I don't think the Eagles can offense. I don't think they want to go back to those times that they had beforehand. Thank goodness Jalen Rager's not here.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of Eagle fans are very glad Rager's not here, but maybe, you know, they look at Quez Watkins like, dude, you can't fumble that ball, man. And like, you know, we got rid of Rager to give you more playing time, man, and you go and fumble the game away. Basically, it felt like.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Like Quez is one of those guys where you feel like, okay, cool, you want to see him get those shots, and he finally does, and then that happens. Like I think I look at it, when it comes to the balls, the way the ball he tucked away that ball, because even if he got up so quickly, it's like wait, it's almost like surprise, like wait, nobody touched me. Okay, cool, I'm running up and keeps going, but then you didn't think anybody was that close. And I get that, but you gotta have your head on a swivel because you gotta know, especially around this league, guys can come over there to you in the quickness. And I hope this is not one of those things that lingers, or is it even lingers in the coach's minds where they think like, well, maybe we shouldn't get the ball towards him. But I think he could be a really dynamic weapon if they use him more. But he's got to get that cleaned up as soon as possible.
Before I let you go, now that the Eagles have lost, they are actually in the loss column with the rest of the conference. So Eagles, Vikings, Giants, Cowboys, 49ers, Seahawks. How are you tiering the NFC, and which of those teams do you think is the greatest threat to Philadelphia making a run to the Super Bowl?
I still think it's the Vikings. I think I put the Eagles and the Vikings in that top tier. The Cowboys, until Dak shows me that he's actually truly back and give me a threat, I have the Cowboys in that second tier because I think they have they have pieces around there that they can be successful, or if he puts things together, okay, they can be in that top tier with the Eagles and the Vikings, but they have that. The 49ers, I wouldn't put the Commanders out. I put the Commanders. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a late push. I seriously could see a path where all the teams in the NFC East could really make the playoffs if, say, for instance, they had a lot of injuries themselves too. But I think the Vikings are the one that you really need to worry about, and the Eagles have to worry about getting home field because I think that they're the one seed. Having the Vikings come here is a completely different scenario than having to go up to Minnesota playing a dome in an NFC Championship game. So they have to continue to win to keep that top seed.
The only problem I have with the Commanders, Chris, is that you got their schedule those last few weeks. It's brutal because they got the Giants, the bye week, the Giants again. Then they got to go to San Francisco. Then on January 1st, that's Deshaun Watson and the Browns, not Jacoby Brissett and the Browns. And oh, by the way, you're finishing the season with the Cowboys, who will probably be playing for something. So I feel like the Eagles lost the game last night more than Washington won the game. I think that's a huge problem for them moving forward.
Yeah, very true, because you look at that, like the turnovers are stuff that's easily correctable. There's so many times we kind of so accustomed, like, oh, there's turn us around. We've seen them in that spot before. We've seen them in Arizona. Yeah, they're playing sluggish like that. We saw it in Houston, they're playing sluggish to turn around. So, yeah, the difference was they didn't commit all those turnovers, and that was the end. I mean, they were on pace to try to tie the 58 Colts with getting win the turnover margin. Well, we saw that didn't happen. So, yeah, I think we see what this team is capable of doing, and I think they can go back to doing that if they do it the right way.
Well, they got a quick turnaround this Sunday against Jeff Saturday in the Indianapolis Colts. That should be some interesting conversation for you guys with Sirianni this week about if he's talking to Frank Reich and all about that game. Chris Franklin, NJ.com, has been my guest. Eagles beat writer for NJ Advanced Media. Follow him on Twitter at @CFranklinNews. By the way, Chris, over under, how quickly does Frank Reich's name come up at the next Sirianni presser?
Wait, it can do it right now. I will say 0.25 seconds, but yeah, I guess it can do it that way. I would be surprised if Frank if he calls Frank and go, hey, what's some more intel? I need some more intel on this one too. So yeah, it'll be the first question. Probably if not the first, it'll be the second one.
I mean, Chris, I asked the question yesterday. I said, who is feeling more sore after this weekend? Is it Frank Reich watching that Colts team go out there and have a come from behind win with the quarterback who's benched Matt Ryan and Jeff Saturday? Or was it TCU beating Texas with Gary Patterson on the opposing sideline, watching that team still undefeated?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what? I'd say, Frank was there for only a few years. Patterson's been there forever. I think that's the one that hurts. Like, oh, y'all want to let me go? I know how this offense operates. I know how this operates. Bam, 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 and you lose to Texas, all teams down there. Oh, that's going to sting for a while. That's going to sting.
I mean, listen, maybe Patterson and Frank Reich need to go to the Nick Saban coaching school for rehabilitation and get back on the road.
What if Gruden had the Fire Football Coaches Academy before everything happened? He had the FFCA.
Yeah. Well, Gruden was Gruden was the opposite of Nick Saban. Everybody who worked for him couldn't get a job. Everyone who works for Nick Saban gets a job.
Yeah, it's true. And on that line, maybe everybody who worked for Belichick maybe needs not to get a job, i.e. Josh McDaniels. That's a whole other conversation.
I mean, poor Rich Bisaccia. He's sitting there in Green Bay looking around like, man, I was the interim head coach of the Raiders in the playoffs last year, and this year I had to wait until November 13th to get another win after like a month. Like,
oh, what am I doing here? Get me out of this place soon. I need to restart my career again. This league is this season is one of the most unpredictable thing, and I guess the NFL likes this because you never know, but this is just a weird year by and large.
It is very weird, but it's only going to get weirder because, Chris, it's only November 15th, and a month from now, things are going to get really interesting because how that schedule may or may not play out. So,
oh my goodness, yeah. Wait, what the heck? When did the Bears get good? Next thing you know, you're worried about we got to worry about Justin Fields and the Bears all of a sudden, which is actually legit now. I was getting worried they were going to flex that game. Now I'm like, now they might not. So they still might. I'm worried about that game being flexed now.
I think the Giants game gets flexed. I think that's the one they flex.
I wouldn't be surprised at that too, especially I can see right now the NFC East talk, blah blah blah, and Tirico going into the NFC. Yeah, I can see that something like that happening. Oh, and then Chris Collins. Here's a guy that Chris Collins will win. We're watching the Eagles and Giants logos. Yeah, I can see that happening right now. Here's a guy in Daniel Jones that's doing well. Yeah.
There's nothing more ridiculous than a Chris Collinsworth. Here's a guy, and you're like, here we go. Here we go.
Pro Football Focus, which I own, says that this guy is this one. Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh, my goodness. Chris, always good talking to you. Take care of yourself. We'll be following you over at C. Franklin News on Twitter, my friend.
Thanks, Josh, man. Thanks for having me on.
We'll get back to the text board next, 609-403-0973. Tim in Williamstown, get to your message and more on the other side here on Game Night with me, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN FM. And the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle.
Today on ESPN Radio, 4th-ranked Kentucky faces Michigan State, followed by 7th-ranked Duke and number 5 Kansas.
The college basketball season continues only on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7 p.m.
Are you looking for a truly unique experience? Sweetwater Marina River Deck is just the place. They feature roll-up garage doors to merge the indoor and outdoor space for the nice weather. You'll love to sit on their lawn at one of their picnic tables overlooking the Mullica River at sunset. Whether you're looking to have a nice casual dinner with a family or enjoy live music with friends, it's always a great time at the River Deck. Your dream day at Sweetwater Marina and River Deck will be nothing short of amazing. Visit SweetwaterRiverDeck.com for more info on their upcoming events and daily hours. That's SweetwaterRiverDeck.com.
Not sure how much you know about Progressive Insurance. You may know us for insuring your home and auto. You may know a couple of our commercials. But what you may not know is that since 2013, Progressive has been honoring veterans with vehicle donations through the annual Keys to Progress Veteran Vehicle Giveaway Program, giving back to those who gave so much. Now, you probably didn't wake up today saying, I really wish I knew more about Progressive Insurance, but this seemed like the type of thing people wouldn't mind hearing about. Find out more about how we're dedicated to our customers and communities at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
It's pro time because at Lowe's, it's Provember. Save big with inventory you can count on, like Flex products or DeWalt power tools starting at just $99. Plus, Lowe's MVPs members earn up to 3 times bonus points per dollar on select items. Save all Provember long. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. MVP's Pro Rewards Program terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/L/Pro Loyalty terms. Subject to change. Prices valid from 10/17/22 to 2/3/23 or until supplies last.
Finding the right Medicare plan? Oof, no easy feat. Kind of like those dances my granddaughter loves making me do. But then I found Walgreens FindRx coverage. Lets you compare plans online, over the phone, or in person. Made Medicare shopping so easy. Plus, I found plans with low-cost copays. I can get down with that. Medicare annual enrollment ends December 7th. Find a plan that's right for you at walgreens.com/Medicare.
Get a price on your roof in 30 seconds at ApexEastRoofing.com.
Hi,
I'm Brighton Richards from Apex East Roofing. If you're in need of a new roof, go to apexeastroofing.com to get a quote in 30 seconds. And now through December 15th, if you order the Gold Roofing System, we'll upgrade you to Diamond free of charge. We offer first responder, teacher, and motorcycle discounts too.
Get a price on your roof in 30 seconds at apexeastroofing.com.
The best part about taking ZQuil Pure Z's Sleep Plus Next Day Energy at night is actually the next morning. I wake up alert with none of the grogginess from taking too much melatonin. Pure Z Sleep Plus Next Day Energy is a bilayer tablet with immediate release melatonin and extended release B vitamins to help me fall asleep naturally and wake refreshed. It's my secret weapon for a great night's sleep and a great morning.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom.
Can't beat that.
ZQuil Pure Z's Gummies. Sleep better, wake your best.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. So you have to drive 300 miles to your cousin's wedding. Okay, so it's his fourth. But you know what they say, fourth time's the charm. Well, here's the problem. Your tires are as bald as I am. But lucky for you, eBay Motors has tires for just about every make and model. Plus wheels, lug nuts, jack stands, and more. 122 million parts. Do they have tissues? Oh, good, because I'm definitely a crier. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Hi, I'm Dan Tracy. I'm a workers' compensation attorney. At Goldenberg Mackler, we've handled thousands of workers' compensation claims over the years. Our experienced attorneys understand the law and will fight to get you the benefits that you deserve. When injured at work, make the right call to Goldenberg Mackler. Call us at 609-344-7131. That's 609-344-7131. Or visit us online at gmslaw.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Game Night being brought to you, my friends, with the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's off the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Bet, watch, and win football, basketball, hockey, the World Cup, college basketball, college football, whatever your fancy, you do it all. With 10 betting kiosks, 5 betting windows, 13 big screen TVs, and plenty of comfortable seating inside the FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's off the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Get in on all the action this season. FanDuel wants every bettor's experience to be enjoyable and fun. Visit FanDuel.com/playaway to learn more. Must be 21 or play and present in New Jersey to bet online. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Also, don't forget, coming up in less than, roughly maybe 7 minutes from now, maybe a little less than that, we will have your final opportunity today to qualify for $99. We'll get callers 6 and 7 when I tell you to call the number. 99 bottles. This is the final week for you to qualify. Manners in Margate will be hosting 99 bottles. Mike Gilden Sports Bash will be live on location. 99 winners. Keep it tuned here to Game Night. We'll have you 2 more qualifiers in about 7 minutes here on 97.3 ESPN. I promise I get some more of your text messages here. 609-403-0973. You also can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. Let's get to Tim in Williamstown. Tim says, Eagles show what they really were last night. A good team, but no different than about 10 other teams. Hurts' passing numbers starting to look more pedestrian. Look at the next 6 games. There's 3 losses in there at least. That's from Tim in Williamstown. Couple things, Tim. Number one, if you want to say that the Eagles are kind of the same as a bunch of other teams, I can accept that. I think 10 is a bit of an aggressive number, though, because here's the thing. The Eagles beat the Vikings, and the Vikings' only loss this year is to Philadelphia. They beat Dallas, and don't tell me it was Cooper Rush, because you beat the defense. Defense is what Dallas has been leaning on most of this year. You beat the defense, you got the job done. Those are 2 of the top 4 teams in the conference. If you want to say that them and the 49ers are comparable, fine. If you want to say that the Giants are maybe not the best team in the league, okay. You say 10 other teams. I mean, the Chiefs, people think they might be the best team in the league right now. The Bills, they're still pretty darn good. And a lot of people assume that the Bills can still win the AFC and go to the Super Bowl if they can right the ship and get Josh Allen to stop making turnovers. So, to me, at least, I don't know. I mean, are the Ravens as good as the Eagles? I don't think so. Miami's having an amazing season, right? So there's there's a lot of things that go into this, right? And I think that, the Eagles are saying they're no different than a bunch of other teams is subjective. And if anybody thought that Jalen Hurts' passing numbers were going to be anything more than a certain tier, I think they were misleading themselves. But to say Hurts' numbers are pedestrian is very narrow-minded by you, Tim in Williamstown. Look, is he Patrick Mahomes? No. Is he Josh Allen? No. Is he Joe Burrow? He doesn't have that level of arm talent, but he's a very talented quarterback. Who's a pedestrian quarterback at this point who Jalen Hurts has better numbers than? Well, he's got better numbers than Matt Ryan. He's got better numbers overall than Kyler Murray. He's got better numbers overall than a lot of guys in this league. Geno Smith, is he an elite quarterback? No, but he's got better numbers. So don't get hung up on the numbers. But thank you for your text, Tim in Williamstown. Shaner in EHT says, I hate to take it here, but the refs affected the outcome directly. The personal foul on the out of bounds, the Dallas Goedert missed face mask, the pass interference, no call. I'm sorry, but it was a punt situation that led to points instead, and then lost the drive and the tight end. It was awful. They could have played better, but no excuse on bare minimum. They should have called the face mask on the Goddard play. Also, is there any way to review a penalty when there's under review? You can't review penalties. I know Bill Belichick has been fighting for that rule to be changed for a very long time, and he hasn't been able to get it done. So, look, it's one of those things where, yes, you're right. It's the idea, that you don't want the refs to impact the outcome of the game. I just feel like that the Watkins fumble was more of a game changer than the Brandon Graham weird penalty. I don't even know what to call it because it was roughing the passer, but that's not roughing. And Hennig was down with a knee down, and Brandon Graham accidentally ran into him. It felt really weak. So, but I thought the Quez Watkins fumble was worse than that. I think the Goddard missed face mask is the number one thing. And, the official saying that they didn't see it in real time. Well, the problem is that you should be able to review that. You should be able to see it on the replay and say, look, was it a fumble? Yes. But there was a foul on the play, face mask, before the fumble happened. So, and now Dallas Goedert's going to miss a few weeks. And, we're all going to have questions now about the officials moving forward because of what happened. Dan EHT chimes in and says, I really feel there was some air let out of that game because Carson Wentz wasn't playing. Look, if there was air let out because Carson Wentz wasn't playing, Dan EHT, then the Eagle players need to look at themselves in the mirror and make a decision about how they handle their business. Because, frankly, if you can't get up for an NFL game, there's only 17 of these regular season babies, I don't need Carson Wentz let the air out of the building. Like, that's a bad job of the players, but that's how they felt. Anthony Langston follows up and says, I really don't understand the whole formula to win argument. What's the team going to run? You hope to average 3 yards a carry and hope a wide receiver fumbles. Commanders didn't win, the Eagles lost. Very fair, Anthony. I think that there is an argument to be made that, maybe they're better off losing. That's what Jay in Atlantic City said the same thing. I'm glad they lost, Jay in Atlantic City says. Now they can forget that 17-0 stuff. That's rat poison. Also, they win the game if Watkins stays down and doesn't fumble the ball. I think Hurts is special. He has a chance to lead the team through a little anxiety. That's from Jay in Atlantic City. Jay, I text you a little bit earlier in the show. I can read your full text message next time. But right now, 609-573-3776. Caller number 6 and 7 at 609-573-3776. You qualify for 99 bottles. We've been telling you about it for 2 weeks now. Next Wednesday, Maynard's in Margate is the party, and you have a chance to win Eagles, Sixers tickets, Flyers tickets, hotel stays in Atlantic City, concert tickets. Everything is on the line. Callers 6 and 7 you're in for 99 bottle. 609-573-3776.
Here's what you missed on Keyshawn